session. Our today's topic is interest rate risk management. Yesterday, we have discussed about the foreign currency risk management. In today's topic, we will discuss interest rate risk management. Okay, the interest rate risk management, let's start. What is interest? Actually, interest means, there are two parts of interest. One is the base rate, that is London Interbank Offer Rate LIBOR, plus the credit spread. Plus the credit spread. So LIBOR is the base rate, is London Interbank Offer Rate, plus credit spread is according to your creditworthiness, according to your rating. If you have a higher rating, definitely this spread will be lower, and if you have some lower rating, like below the BBB level, obviously your credit spread will be widened. So what we gonna study today, we are going to study interest rate risk management. And what is the meaning of interest rate? Only LIBOR. We are going to study only to hedge the LIBOR. We do not hedge the credit spread. There are other methods to hedge the credit spread, but in interest rate risk management, we are only going to cover the risk management of LIBOR, the increase or decrease of LIBOR, obviously increase for the borrower and decrease for the lender. We are not going to study the hedging of credit spread. So credit spread hedging is not the part of interest rate risk management. The part of interest rate risk management is only to hedge the LIBOR. Okay. For borrower, generally the interest rate risk is increase in interest rate. For lender, generally the risk is decrease in interest rate. But if you have already borrowed something, if you are existing borrower, that means you have already borrowed the loan. There can be two scenarios. Maybe you have borrowed at fixed rate, and maybe you have borrowed at floating rate. If you have borrowed at fixed rate, definitely you will not face risk of increasing interest rate. So what will be the risk to your position? That is that if interest rate decreases, you will face risk, you will face loss. So in this case, you will face the risk of decrease in interest rate. And in case of floating rate, definitely you will face the risk of increase in rate. And obviously, same is the case with the lender. If you are existing lender and you have invested at fixed rate, you will face the risk of increase in interest rate. If interest rate rises, definitely you will not enjoy that rise in interest rate. And if interest rates are floating one, you will face the risk of decline in rates. So what are the different methods to hedge this risk? These are the different methods. Obviously, we have studied FRA, future and option in yesterday's discussion. The new one is swaps and collar. So these are the main topics to hedge the interest rate risk. So let's start with the first one, that is FRA, forward rate agreement. So FRA is a contract in which two parties agree on interest rate to be paid on a notional amount at a specified future time. It is a legally binding contract in which two parties agree with each other to borrow or lend at a predetermined rate or at a pre-specified date. So let's suppose you are going to borrow you are going to borrow an amount after, let's say, 3 months. So you have a risk of there is some network issue. Let's start with the example again. Company is going to borrow $20 million after 3 months for a period of 6 months. So actually you are facing this for 3 months, because at the end of 3 months you will borrow, and once you have borrowed you will not face any risk, because you are only going to borrow for 6 months, and at the start of 6 months your interest rate will be locked. Your interest rate will be locked. So you have a tension, you have a risk of only 3 months. So that means whenever we are going to hedge the interest rate for the starting of the loan. Once we have taken the loan, or once we have deposited or lent the money, we do not face any risk, because we are going to borrow or lend for shorter period of time. Okay, let's start. Let's study this with the help of an example. This is an example. Okay, it is 30th June. The company will need a $10 million 6-month fixed rate from 1st October. Okay, you are going to borrow for 6 months, but on 1st October. That means you are going to borrow after 4 months for a period of, after 3 months for a period of 6 months. And company wants to hedge using an FRA and relevant FRA is 6. First of all, try to learn this. You are going to borrow after 3 months for a period of 6 months. So you have a uncertainty of 3 months. FRA will be stated like this. FRA, which is available, will have a standard terminology like this. Okay, these are the months. The first digit represents the period of hedging. The second digit represents the total period. And their difference represent loan or deposit period. So if you are going to borrow after 3 months for a period of 6 months, it will be stated like this, 3V9. Let's suppose if this is stated like this, that means you are going to borrow after 3 months for a period of 7 months. If it is stated like this, let's suppose it is 8. It means you are going to borrow after 3 months for a period of 5 months. Okay, then rates will be given like this. There will be 2 rates given. Let's suppose 5.5 and 6%. If you are going to borrow or if you are going to lend, there will always be 2 rates. One is lending and one is for borrowing. Obviously, borrowing rate will be higher than the lending rate. So if you are going to hedge your borrowing position, definitely you will lock at 6%. And if you are going to hedge your lending position, you will use this 5.5%. So standard terminology is like this. Okay, let's suppose you have locked 6% rate. Once you have agreed or locked 6% rate, whether interest rate rises or falls, your final interest cost will be the 6%. Your final cost will be 6%. Yes, you still have to pay the credit spread, but if we leave the credit spread, your final cost will be 6%. Okay, but the final cost, the final cost will be the locked forward rate plus spread. That will be your final cost. So let's suppose it is 30th June and company need a £10 million after 6 months, sorry, for 6 months after 3 months, and relevant FRA is 6%. Okay, this is a very simple example. In this example, 6% is straightforward given, otherwise this terminology will be available in exam. State what FRA is required. FRA is required 3V9 because you need to hedge 3 month period. Obviously you will take loan for 6 months. Okay, whether interest rate rises or interest rate falls, your locked interest cost is 6%. Definitely you will have to pay 6% if interest rate rises or falls. In this question, credit spread is not given, but if credit spread is available, definitely you will pay 6% plus the spread. So the first scenario, if interest rate go down, or the second scenario, if interest rate go up, whether interest rate go down or whether interest rate go up, you will face only the 6% cost and the spread. So what if interest rate become 5%? Okay, you will take loan at 5%. but definitely you will have to pay the difference of 1% to the bank, because you have already locked the contract at 6%. Now if interest rate reduces, you will face loss and you will have to pay the difference. So in this scenario, you will take loan from the bank at 5%, but you will have to pay the 1% difference, and your final cost will be 6%. And in second scenario, you will take loan at 9%. You will take loan at 9%, but obviously you are you have locked contract at 6%, but you have taken the loan at 9%, so you will receive the difference of 3%, and your final cost will always be 6%. Obviously, if spread were available, we must have to add that spread to the 6% of the final cost. You do not have to do this numerical part. You can even discuss answer in 2 to 3 simple lines, in 2 to 3 statements, like you have locked FRA at 6%. Your company will have to face 6% FRA cost plus the spread, and whether interest rate rises or falls, your final cost will be this. Okay, if you want to do this numerical, and if you want to do in absolute number, obviously you are facing this 5% cost, multiply it with the loan amount and take its month portion value. Okay, take this one, multiply this 1% with the loan amount and take its month portion value. You can easily calculate answer in numbers. So that's how you're gonna do, how you're gonna solve this in exam. If you have any question from the FRA area, you can type in the question section. But remember one thing, there will be maximum 1 or 2 marks available for the FRA. Examiner will not give you like 5 to 7 marks question from the FRA. Maximum marks will be available either 1 or 2. So for 1 mark, you cannot solve this, you cannot perform this much working. Just identify the relevant FRA, add the spread into it, and just state in exam that your effective interest cost will be this. Whether interest rate rises or falls, you have to face this cost. That's how you're going to tackle the FRA part in exam. Okay, let's move to the next part. That is interest rate future. Interest rate future are the derivatives on the interest rate only. It's not on the borrowing or lending. This is a contract on interest rate only. This contract is not based on the borrowing or lending. This contract is only based on the interest rate direction. So remember these two terminology. If you want to receive interest, you will enter into a contract by buying future. And if you want to pay interest, you will enter into a contract by selling future. So whenever you want to receive interest, obviously when you are lender or depositor. If you want to receive interest, then buy future. If you want to pay interest, definitely you will be borrower, sell future. So interest rate receiving direction, buy future. Interest rate paying direction, sell future. So in case of lender or depositor, you will always buy future, and in case of borrower, you will sell future. Okay, the price of the contract is normally given in a inverse way, like If LIBOR is 11%, future price will be given in 89.00. If LIBOR is 5%, future price will be given like in 95 terminology. So future price is given 100 minus R terminology. Like 95.50 will be given instead of 4.5%. So 4.5% mean 95.50, 95.50 mean 4.5%. Let's suppose 96.30, that means 3.7%. So this contract is available in inverse pricing 100 minus R. Tick value is equal to contract size into 0.01%, the 10,000 part into 3 by 12. 3 by 12 is a standard term. So let's suppose contract size is 500,000. Take its 10,000 value, it will be 50. Then multiply it with 3 by 12. It will be 12.50. Normally the settlement date are March, June, September, December, 3-month expiry. Contract sizes are normally 0.5 million, 1 million or 2 million. Basis risk. Exactly the same formula, current spot rate minus opening future rate. What do you mean by current spot rate, current LIBOR? So the basis risk is current spot rate, current LIBOR minus opening future rate. Remaining basis, take the difference of these two, is the difference divided with the total month. What I mean by total month, always write the date of current spot. Let's say in exam it is stated today is 1st September. State the date, and you have chosen the 31st December. So that means total months are 4. And let's suppose you are borrowing at 1st December. So the remaining months are exactly the month before the final date of future. It is remaining months. So difference divided by total months and remaining months. Remember one thing, remaining months cannot be greater than 2. Because if remaining months are 3, that means you have chosen the wrong date. Because if the 3 months exactly before the 31st December are 30th September. So you have chosen the December instead of September. So maximum the remaining months are 2 or minimum it can be of 1. Normally examiner gave these remaining time on a monthly basis. Okay, how are you going to calculate closing future? Take the closing LIBOR. Closing LIBOR will be given in exam. Plus minus remaining basis based on trend. And trend means the movement from current spot to opening future. So closing LIBOR plus minus remaining basis, that will be closing future. Number of contracts also have a different formula. Amount of loan or deposit over contract size. Amount of loan or deposit over contract size. Into time period of loan over 3. Into time period of loan over 3. Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. These are the steps which you have to remember. Okay, the first one is identify the borrowing or lending amount. Identify the borrowing or lending amount. The second step is decide whether to buy or sell future. Obviously, it will be very easy for you. If you want to receive interest, buy future. If you want to pay interest, sell future. Identify the settlement date expiring immediately after the loan is taken. So let's suppose you are going to borrow on 1st May. You will choose June. If you are going to borrow on October, you will choose December. If you are going to borrow in July, August, start of September, you will definitely choose September contract. Number of contracts have the formula which we have discussed in a previous slide. Basis risk, then calculate basis risk, current LIBOR minus opening future rate. Then calculate difference of these two, difference over total months into remaining months. Closing future means closing LIBOR plus minus remaining basis. Then compare opening future with a closing future and calculate gain or loss. And last step will be, you will have to borrow from the market. So in that case only, you will have to add the spread. Otherwise, this spread is not part of calculation of interest rate risk management. It will only be become part of the calculation in the final step. So actual interest plus spread, that will be your final cost. That will be your actual cost if you borrow from the market. Then adjust gain or loss of future with it. And finally, you will calculate effective cost. That's how you're gonna tackle the exam of interest rate future. Obviously, these are the basic steps. We will learn these all steps with the help of an exam, with the help of a past paper exam question. Just go to the handout section, and the question is, this is a past exam paper question. This is available in your handout section. Just read this question, like it's read its second requirement. Based on the hedging choices, electro company is considering and assuming that company does not face any basis risk. Okay, and okay, whenever this statement is written in exam, what is the meaning of the statement? We know that basis is current spot minus opening future. We know that this is basis. What is the assumption behind it? We assume that this spot rate will ultimately move to the opening future, and at the end these both rates will become equal. What is the risk? Risk is that these rates are not going to be the same, not going to be equal. What is basis risk? That these two rates will not become equal. So we assume that basis risk will be zero. We assume that company will not face any basis risk. We assume that this current spot and this opening future rate will going to be the same. So that's why we always assume that company does not face any basis risk. That means company is assuming that this spot rate will become equal to the opening future rate. Okay, you are going to hedge the 22 million euro loan. Score your recommendation with the appropriate comment and relevant calculation. So take your time and read this question. Okay, electro company, a large listed company based in Europe, is expecting to borrow 22 million in 4 months' time. In 4 months' time, on 1st May 2012. So you are going to borrow on 1st May. So that means you will definitely choose the June contract. It expect to make a full repayment of the borrowed amount. It expect to make a full repayment of the borrowed amount 9 months from now. So today is 1st January. Today is 1st January and you are going to borrow on 1st May. So that means January, February, March and April, 4 months are required. After 4 months you will borrow and you will repay all the loan after 5 months. So 5-month loan and after 4 months. Okay, it expect make a full repayment of the borrowed amount 9 months from now. Currently, there is some uncertainty in the market with higher than normal rate of inflation, but an expectation that inflation level may soon come down. This has led some economists to predict a rise in interest rate and others suggesting an unchanged outlook or maybe even a small fall in interest rate. Although companies are of the opinion that it is equally likely that interest rate could increase or fall by 0.5% in 4 months, it wishes to protect itself from the interest rate fluctuation by using derivative. The company can borrow at LIBOR plus 80 basis point. That is the actual cost of company. LIBOR is currently 3.3%. That is the actual spot rate. Company is considering using interest rate future, which we gonna solve it now. Interest option interest rate, which we solve after a few minutes, and then we will definitely solve the column. Following information and code from a property exchange are provided on Euro future and option. 3-month Euro future, contract size is 1 million, tick size is 0.01%, tick value is 25 euro, and March and June contract is available. Definitely we are going to choose the June contract because we need our loan on 1st May and the immediate expiry date of the relevant derivative is after May is of June. So how are we going to solve it? How are we going to solve it? Okay, we will solve here. Open this slide in front of you and we will exactly match these steps in this Word file. Okay, the first step is identify the borrowing or lending amount. So we will go to the question, we will go back to the question, and the exact amount is 22 million. Okay, the first step will be we are going to borrow €22 million after 4 months. Okay, the second step will be decide whether to buy or sell future. Definitely it's a case of borrowing. That means you have decided that you are going to sell future. Third step is identify the settlement date expiring immediately after the loan is taken. As you are taking loan on 1st May, so you will definitely choose the June contract. $96.16. Yes, 96.16. Okay, 96.16 mean 3.84%. Okay, what was the fourth step? Fourth step was number of contracts. This was the formula. Okay, contracts are 22 million and contract sizes of 1 million, and you are taking loan for 5 months and 3 is a standard term. Okay, just check the contract size. So the 22 into 5 over 3. What is the exact? Okay, contract sizes of 1 million. Definitely it is correct. So according to my calculation, the exact number is 37. Okay, now the next step. Next step is basis. Calculate the basis. And the formula of basis is current spot minus opening future. So what was the current spot? Okay, the current spot is 3.3%. 3.3. Minus opening future rate, that is 3.84%. And today is a date of 1st January and contract is of 30th June. So the difference between these two (3.84 minus 3.3), that is equal to 0.54, and the difference is of 6 months. But you are not going till 30th June. You will definitely take your loan on 1st May. So 1st May is 2 months before the 30th June. So the remaining months are 2. So that means remaining basis is 0.8. And the closing future is okay, the closing future is equal to closing spot plus minus the remaining basis. Now your question will be divided in 2 parts because there are two closing spot rates. Why there will be 2 closing spot rates? Because currently the LIBOR is 3.3%, but it can go up by 0.5 or it can fall by 0.5. So if we increase it by 0.5, it will be 3.8%. And if we reduce it by 0.5, it will be 2.8%. So if closing spot is 2.8%, or closing spot is equal to 3.8%. In both scenarios, as trend is increasing, from 3.3 to 3.84, a trend is increasing, you will have to add the remaining basis point, and the closing future will be 2.98%, 3.98%. So the closing future will be 2.98% and 3.98%. Okay, the next step is calculating gain or loss. Now compare the opening future with the closing future. Okay, now compare the opening future with the closing future. Remember, the opening future was 4.16 and now the closing future is 2.98. Sorry, opening future was of 3.8%, 3.84. It's not 4.16, 3.84. It's not 4.16. It is 3.84. And here the opening future is 3.84. And closing future is 3.98. Okay, in this scenario, you have locked your interest cost at 3.84. But in market, now interest rates have gone down 2.98. So that means you will face loss here. And loss amount is 0.86%. Your loss is 0.86%. Remember, convert this 0.86% into the tax. Okay, how are you going to do it? Divide that 0.86% with 0.01%. Percentage will be cancelled out and it will be 86 tax into 25 tick value into 37 number of contracts, and your gain will be 86 into 25 into 37, and your gain will be 79,550. And in this case, obviously you have logged 3.84%, but in market, the interest rates have gone up. In this case, you will be at a positive position. 0.14. 0.14% means 14 ticks into 25 into 37 contracts. So your gain will be 14 into 25 into 37, 12,950. Okay, the last step is take loan from the actual market. Okay, you go to the market and you have borrowed 22 million euro at, now interest rate is 2.8% because interest rates have gone down. Plus, you will take loan at LIBOR plus 80 basis point. So in last step, you will include the spread. And obviously you will borrow for 5 months. And that will be 22 million into your cost will be 330,000 and loss on future is 79,550 and your final cost will be 409,550. And in this step, when you borrow from the market 22 million into 3.8 plus 0.8 into 5 by 12, your cost will be 421,666 and gain on future is it was like 12,950. So it is near to 409,000 approximately. So in both cases, your approximate cost is same. So how you gonna solve it in exam? That's how you're gonna solve it in exam. So just follow these steps. You can easily solve it. What I have done in step number 1, we have borrowed 22 million. We are going to borrow 22 million after 4 months. Obviously, if you want to borrow, sell future. June contract 96.16, 3.84 is the opening future price. Contracts 22 million over the contract size into 5 months divided by 3. You are going to borrow for 37 contracts. Basis current spot, that is 3.3%. Opening future, that is 3.84%. Current spot is on 1st January. Future is of 30th June. So total months are 6. And the difference is 0.54. and you are going to borrow on 1st May, exactly the 2 months before the 30th June. So the remaining bases are 0.18. In closing future, closing spot plus 0.18 because trend is rising, increasing. 2.98 is the closing future. 3.98 is the closing future in this second scenario. Okay, compare the opening future 3.84 with the 2.98. You are going to borrow at 3.84, but market is now at 2.98. That means you will face loss of 86 ticks. Take the difference, that is 0.86%, convert it into ticks. And how you convert it into ticks? By dividing at 0.01%. What is 0.01%? The tick value. So 86 ticks into 25, the tick value, into 37, the number of contract, the standard formula. Number of ticks into tick value into number of contracts. So your loss is 79,550. And in this case, compare the 3.84, the opening future, with the 3.98. Your gain is 14 ticks into 25 into 37. That is 12,950. And the last step, you will have to borrow in the market, and you will borrow at closing spot plus spread, because in case of actual borrowing, you will have to incur the spread. Take its month of portion, that is 330,000. Adjust the loss in it, so total cost is 409. In this case, your total cost is approximately 409. So you can solve the last step like this. Borrow from market. I'm writing in a short form. You will borrow from market at 2.8 plus 0.8, that is 3.6. In this scenario, you will borrow at 3.8 plus 0.8, that is 4.6. And here you will adjust the gain, and here you will adjust the loss. As loss is 0.86, so your total answer will be 4.46. As loss is, what was the exact loss? $14 ticks, 0.14. So in both cases, your cost will be same. You can solve it in this way even. And if you want to convert it into absolute amount, so multiply it with the loan amount and take its month of portion. That's how you're going to solve the future part in exam. If you have any question, please write in the question box. Okay, there are a couple of questions from the tech area. Okay, whenever you compare opening future with a closing future, whenever you compare this opening future with a closing future, like in this case, the difference was 0.86%, 0.86%. You can convert it into text just by dividing at your calculator by 0.01%. 0.8, when you divide 0.86% with 0.01%, percentage will be cancelled out, and this 0.01 will convert this 0.86 into 86 value, that is text. And one tick is equal to 25, multiply it with the 25 and then with the number of contracts. That's how you're going to calculate the total loss value. And you have to calculate effective rate in exam. Either you can calculate it in percentage or you can calculate in absolute amount. But it is recommended to calculate gain or loss in absolute amount. In step number 7, like this is step number 7. In step number 7, you are going to take an assumption that you are going to borrow from market. So this is like borrow from market. And now after 4 months, interest rates are 2.8%. So 2.8% plus the spread. So you will borrow at 3.6%. And on derivative, you had a loss of 0.86%. So you are going to pay 3.6% to the lenders and 0.86% to the derivative market. So your effective cost is 4.46%. And the other scenario where interest rates have risen to 3.8%, you will borrow at 4.6%. But in this scenario, you had earned again 0.14. So your final cost will be 4.46%. So that was the step number 7. Okay, let's move to the next area. Let's move to the next area. That is option on interest rate future. Option on interest rate future. Okay, the option on interest rate future. This is one derivative on another derivative. Do not book interest rate future directly. Buy option on that interest rate future. And if that option is in the money, if that option is beneficial, use that option. Otherwise, go to the normal market. So this is the concept. We are going to buy option on the interest rate future. This is a derivative on another derivative. So what are the steps involved? First one, identify the amount of borrowing or lending. Okay, we have done this in the previous question. Decide whether to buy, call or put option. Okay, try to understand this. Call option means right to buy. Now you have to buy or sell future. Call option means right to buy. And what you want to buy future. And when you want to buy future, if you want to receive interest. And who will receive interest? The lender. So that means call option will be used for the lender. Put option. Put option means right to sell. What you want to sell, obviously, this is the option on future. So you want to sell the future. And when you are going to sell the future, if you want to pay interest, and who will pay interest? The borrower. So for lender you will use call, and for borrower you will use put. Okay, the next step is same. Identify the settlement expiry immediately after the loan is taken. If you want to borrow in May, definitely will choose a June. So identify the best excess price. What is it? We will learn it while solving the question. So leave it now. Next, number of contracts are the same formula. Calculate premium. Premium has a formula as a tax. Convert the premium cost into tax value into number of contracts. Okay, the next, decide whether to exercise the option or not by comparing strike price with the basis adjusted closing future price. You have to compare the strike price, which you will choose in the above steps, and compare it with the basis adjusted closing future price. Why we are comparing strike price with the basis adjusted closing future price? Because these are the option on interest rate future. Okay, the last step is very similar. Calculate actual borrowing or lending in the market. Adjust gain on option on it, because there will be no loss on option. In case of loss, you will definitely not exercise the option. And adjust the premium cost into it and calculate the effective cost. Okay, let's learn these steps with the help of an example. Okay, the question is exactly the same. Electro. Okay, we will solve it. Divide your question, divide your paper into 2 columns and write 2.8% on the top of first column and write 3.8% on the top of second column. Because after 4 months, interest rate will be 2.8%, and after 4 months, interest rate can be 3.8%. So now apply the steps. First step will be amount of borrowing or lending. So you are going to borrow 22 million euro. Second step will be decide whether you are going to buy, call or put option, because it is a case of borrowing, it is a case of paying interest. So we will choose the put option. Third step is to decide the settlement date, and the settlement date is of June. And what about the fourth step? Identify the best exercise price. Okay. In case of put option, exercise price interest rate. Identify the exercise price interest rate plus premium cost. Select lower one. Okay, what is it? Let's learn it. We have to go to the question. Here it is. There are two strike prices. One is 4%. And the other is 3.5. Okay, cancel the call option and cancel the March and September option. Now, there are two strike prices and there are two premium. These are the premium. These are also in percentage. Option premiums are in percentage. So, you have to face these interest cost plus the premium. So, either you are going to face 4% plus 0.163%, that is 4.163%, or you have to face 3.5 plus 0.58, that will become 4.081%. So, which one is better? 4% plus 0.163 or this? Obviously, we will do here. Uh, 4%. 3.5% plus 1.63 plus 0.58. What was the exact? 0.581. And total will be 4.163%. 4.081%. So which one is cheaper? Definitely this one is cheaper. You will write the reason why you have chosen 96.50. So the best exercise price is 3.5%. Okay, the next step is, what was the next step? Number of contracts and the premium cost. If contract size is same, number of contracts are same. Contract size is same. So the contracts are, what was the contracts in previous future part? If I correctly remember, it was 37. Okay, the next step is calculate premium cost. What was the premium cost? 0.581, and when you convert 0.581%, it will be 58.1 ticks. Multiply it with the tick value and into the number of contracts, and it will be 53,743. Okay, the next step is to compare your strike price with the basis adjusted price. Okay, decide whether to exercise or not. Decide either to exercise or not. You have logged 3.5%, but the closing future is 2.98. Remember this we have solved it in the future part, and in this case, first time you will write in this column, strike price is 3.5%. And closing future is 3.98%. So if a strike price is 3.5%, but in market it is 2.98%, will you exercise the option? Let's suppose if you exercise the option, you will face loss, because in a market of 2.98, you can't borrow at 3.5%. Will not exercise the option. In this case, strike price is 3.5, but in market interest rates have gone up. You will assume that you will exercise and your gain will be 0.48%. So let's convert into the ticks. It will be 48 ticks into 25 tick value into number of contracts. So it will be 48 into 25 into 37. This will be 44,400. Okay, the last step, borrow from market. You can even copy the step from the future. What was this? Spot, closing spot plus 0.8. So that means you are going to borrow at 3.6, and here it was 4.6. Gain on option, obviously there is no one. Gain on option, that is 0.48%. Premium 0.581. Premium 0.581. Total cost %4.181%. Total cost for 4.701%. Maximum you will pay 4.7, minimum you will pay 4.18. What is the benefit of option? In option, your maximum cost has been locked at 4.7%. But if interest rate go down, you can take the advantage of favorable market and interest rate will be as low as 4.18%. Okay, you can convert these amounts into absolute number, into dollar number, just by multiplying it with the loan amount. And take its month portion, like if you have taken a loan for 5 months, convert it by 5 by 12. Same is the case with the premium, and same is the case with the option gain. So that's how you're going to solve it in exam. Okay, if you have any question, please. Okay, remember one thing in exam, in choosing the best exercise price. Normally, examiner do not perform this step. Examiner solve the question with all the available exercise prices. Listen carefully. Normally, this fourth step is not performed by the examiner in standard question. Examiner normally solve with all the available exercise prices, and examiner tell the best exercise price by observing the answers. If you want to solve it with all the available exercise prices, you can do it in exam. But obviously in exam, you will be short of time. So in that case, identify the best exercise price in step number 4 and explain the reason that why you have chosen the best exercise price of 3.5. Let's suppose I have shown the working that including the premium, by adjusting the premium, my final cost was in this exercise price 4.16, and in the second exercise price it was 4.08. And I will state the reason that I will choose the 3.5% because on premium adjusted basis it has the overall lower cost. So that's why I will choose 3.5%. If you state the reason that why you have chosen 3.5, you will get the full marks. You will get the marks even you have solved your question with only one exercise price. Because normally examiner award the mark for the different exercise price, but you will get the full marks if you have if you state the reason that I have chosen 3.5% because on a net on the premium adjusted basis, on a net of premium basis, it has overall lower cost. So that's how you're gonna get the full marks, even by solving your question with one exercise price. Okay. So if I have scrolled it down to the up and down, if you want to take its uh, screenshot, you can do it. But obviously this video will be available, so don't worry. This working will be with you. On the very next day, these videos will be uploaded on the Vimeo. Okay, we are taking break of 10 minutes, and after break we will cover and swaps. Okay, let's start it again. Welcome back. We are going to study the collar contract, and before collar, let's have a discussion on the two basic concepts: the interest rate cap and the interest rate floor. Okay, the interest rate cap is a series of borrower's option which sets the maximum limit on interest rate. Okay. There was a minor issue of network. Let's start it again. Let's say you are a borrower and you have borrowed a loan, and that loan is a floating rate. That is floating rate, and the interest rate on the floating loan is reset on every quarter basis. So let's say on every quarter basis, interest rates are being reset. So like first quarter is of March, June, December, and next year March. So on every quarter, you have a risk that interest rate can go up, or if you are a lender, you have a risk of interest rate can go down. So let's suppose you are a borrower and you have already borrowed a loan and you have a risk that interest rate can go up. In that scenario, if you have a risk of that interest rate can go up, you can book a cap contract. Let's suppose it's 6%. What is that cap contract? Whenever interest rate rises above this level, you will maximum pay 6%. Whenever interest rate try to go up, you will maximum pay 6%. And whenever interest rates are below this level, you will leave the cap contract and you will take the borrowing at the market rate. So let's suppose in market interest rate at 8%, and you have booked the contract at 6%, you will maximum pay 6%, you have a gain of 2%. And if you have a contract of cap 6% and market interest rates are 9%, you will definitely have an interest rate of only 6%, you have a gain of 3%. But if interest rate in markets are lower, you will leave the option and you will borrow at 4%. So in a cap contract, it is a series of borrower's option. In a cap contract, the maximum you will pay is the cap rate, and whenever interest rates are down from this level, you will pay the lower rate of market. Floor is exactly the opposite concept. Floor is a series of lenders option, and lenders always protect its minimum rate. So interest rate floor is a series of lenders option that protects the lender against a decline in floating interest rates. So if you are a lender and you are expecting that interest rate can go down, so you will buy a floor contract. Let's suppose you have bought a floor contract at 6%. In that case, you will minimum, at least you will receive 6% at every time. Whenever interest rate go down, you will surely receive 6%. And whenever interest rate go up, you will cancel the 6% and you will invest at the market rate. So that means floor will set the minimum income, and whenever interest rate go down, you will at least receive that floor rate, and whenever interest rate go up, you will cancel the floor and you will invest or receive the market rate. But in both case, in case of cap and floor, in both these cases, these are not that familiar, these are not that common in the market, because in both cases you have to pay premium cost at upfront, and that premium cost is very high, and even you have to pay in advance. So that's why these are not popular contracts of the market. Okay, now let's move to the alternative of these, that is the collar contract. So we will discuss the borrower collar, and you have to make the lender collar by yourself. So try to listen carefully. So what about borrower collar? Okay, let's suppose we are a borrower and we are facing a risk that interest rate can go up, and if interest rates are going up, we will face loss, and definitely we have to pay the higher rate. So let's suppose at 6%, let's suppose at 5%, we have bought a put option. Why we have bought a put option? Because borrower always buy a put option. Why borrower buy a put option? Because remember, in case of borrowing you have to pay interest. In case of pay interest, sell future, put option. So you will buy put option in case of borrowing. Let's suppose you have bought the put option at 5%. Obviously you will have to pay premium. That will be your cost. So what do you mean by this 5%? 5% means whenever interest rate go up, you will maximum pay 5%, and whenever interest rates are down, you will leave the 5% and you will borrow at the lower rate. So buy put option means you have bought a cap. Okay, but the disadvantage of only this transaction is a higher premium cost. What you will do, at some lower rate, let's suppose 4%. At some lower rate, let's suppose 4%, you will sell the floor. Sell floor means you will sell call option. Sell call option means you will give the option to the lender, you will give the option to somebody else, that whenever interest rate go down, he will at least receive 4% from you. So in this case, you will sell the call option. Obviously, you will sell the call option to the lender. And when you sell the call option to the lender, that means you will give the right to that lender that whenever interest rate go down, he will at least receive 4% from you. So what you have done, you have locked your lower cost. Whatever the circumstances, you have to face this 4%, because whenever interest rate go down, you will minimum have to pay the 4%. But what is the advantage of by selling the call? You will receive the premium. And you will face lower cost. So you will pay premium and you will receive premium, overall cost will be lower. So how you gonna set the collar? By buying put option at a higher rate and by selling call option at the lower rate. By buying put option at the higher rate, you will set or you will set the higher interest rate at the higher cost. You will not face any cost above this. And by selling the call option at the lower rate, you have also locked your lower side. You have to face this cost at any level. Whenever interest rate go down, you will have to face 4%. Whenever interest rate go up, you will maximum have to pay 5%. So whenever interest rates are going up, you only have to pay 5%. Whenever interest rates are going down, you will have to pay the 4%. So the maximum is locked at 5%, the minimum is locked at 4%, and when interest rates are in between these two, both options will not be exercised because put will not be exercised because it's lower than 5. 4% will not be exercised by the lender because when interest rates are above this, how he will receive 4%. So that's how you're gonna set the borrower collar. Okay, let's move to its steps. These are the steps of the borrower collar. First one, make a collar contract. Make a collar contract by buying put option at higher rate and selling call option at lower rate. Make a collar contract by buying put option at a higher rate and selling call option at a lower rate. And also calculate their net premium cost. So you will set the collar in the very first step. Second step, compare your collar strike price, compare your call or put strike price with the closing future rates to calculate gain and losses. Okay. And the third step is the very familiar step from option and future, the actual borrowing, then gain and loss on collar and net premium, and then how you're going to calculate effective cost. So these are the steps. Now we are going to learn these steps with the help of a question. Apply these steps by looking at this slide in the next question. Okay, let's move to the question. And where was the question? Question was, okay, here is the question. Same that we will solve the same question. Okay, divide your question into 2 columns and write 2.8% the closing spot at the top of one column and write the closing spot, other closing spot at the top of the other column. Now the first step. Remember, this was a case of borrower. So buy put and sell call. Okay, let's move to the question. You will buy put at 4% and sell call at 3.5%. So you will buy put at 4% and you will sell call at 3.5%. Okay, you will buy put at 4% and sell call at 3.5%. Pay premium, receive premium. And premium was 0.0163%, 0.09%. I think these are the right figures. 0.163 you are going to pay, 0.09 you are going to receive. Okay, your net answer will be it's 0.0 or 0.163. It's 0.163. It's 0.163. So it's a cost. The first step. Second step, compare it with closing future. Why we are comparing it with closing future? Because these are options and options are on the future. So the closing future in this case was 2.98. In this case it was 3.98. So if rates are below from this level, this will be exercise. If rates are above this level, this will be exercise. So compare closing future with a call. That means the person to whom we have sold call will exercise the call option and we will have to face the loss. So whenever interest rates are go down, call option will be exercised, and whenever interest rates are go up, put option will be exercised. Loss will be 0.52%. And here when you compare 3.98 with these two, both will not be exercised. Okay, what will be the last step? Borrow from market. You can copy this step from the future option. It was 3.6 and it was 4.6. Gain or loss on caller 0.5. Net premium 0.073%. And in this case, no gain or loss 0.073%, 4.673%. And in this case, it is 4.19%. That's how you're gonna solve caller contract in exam. So if you have any question from this caller part, you may write in the question box. Look guys, in second step, what are the steps? In second step, compare call or put strike prices with the closing future rates to calculate gain or loss. So that's why compare these two prices with your closing future rate. As closing future rate is 2.98. As closing future rate is 2.98. Compare this 2.98 with these two. Obviously, when you compare 2.98, put option will not be exercised, because put option will only be exercised if interest rates are going up. But if you compare this 2.98 with the 3.5%, this will be exercised. Why this will be exercised? Because whenever interest rates are going down, remember the simple rule. Whenever interest rates are going down, this will be exercised, and whenever interest rates are going up, this will be exercised. So in case of 2.98% interest, when we compare it with 3.5, call option will be exercised, and we are not holding the call option. We have sold this call option, so that's why we are facing loss. You have to compare 2.98 with a 3.5%. That's why this is a loss. And in this scenario, we have compared 3.98 with these two, and whenever closing future rate is in between the call or put strike prices, it will not be exercised. Let's suppose instead of 3.98, if it is like 4.18%, definitely it will be compared with the 4%. And instead of 4.18, we must have borrowed at 4%. That means we must have exercised the put option, and we are holding the put option. So that's why it must have a gain of 0.18%. In step number 3, you will actually borrow from the market. This is a very similar step, but what we have done in future and option. Just you have to adjust loss on caller or gain on caller with it, and net premium with it, and the effective cost is now 4.19 and 4.67. So that's how we have to solve it. Now spend just few minutes at lender scholar and lender scholar step. Okay, in Lender Scholar, it's very simple. Make a collar contract, it's exactly the opposite. Make a collar contract by selling put option at higher price and by buying call option at lower rate, and calculate the net premium cost. And compare that call or put strike prices with closing future rates to calculate gain and losses. Exactly the same step. Like now, let's suppose I'm taking the same example. Now you will sell put and you will buy a call. Let's suppose at 4 and 5%. By selling put, you will receive premium. By buying call, you will pay premium. And compare your call and put strike prices with the closing future. If interest rates are going up, your maximum income will be 5%. And if interest rates are going down, your minimum income will be 4%. So you will lock your you will log your maximum income, and you have also logged your minimum income. And obviously the last step, calculate actual deposit from market, calculate its take its net value with the gain or loss, and obviously with the net premium cost. That's how you're going to calculate the effective income. So lender column is exactly the replication of the borrower's column. In lender's column, we will sell put option and buy call. And obviously, if interest rates are going up, your maximum income has been logged. And if your interest rates are going down, your minimum income has also been logged. Okay, now I'm moving to the you can have a practice of this by doing some questions of past exam paper. There is a question in past exam on the lender scholar. Name is Armstrong, I think. It's a very easy concept. If you have a grip on the borrower collar, you can apply it on the lender scholar. So let's move to the next concept, interest rate swap. You guys are listening, right? Okay, let's move to the next concept, interest rate swap. It's an instrument in which two parties agree to exchange interest rate cash flows based on the specified notional amount from a fixed rate to floating or a floating rate to the fixed. In interest rate swap, let's suppose you have borrowed at a floating rate payment. You have borrowed at a floating rate interest rate. This borrowing firm is your firm, and from some bank you have borrowed at a floating rate. Every time you are going to pay that floating rate, that variable rate to your bank. So you have borrowed some amount from your bank at a floating rate. But you are expecting that interest rate will go down. Sorry, you are expecting that interest rates will go up in the future. You have taken your loan in a floating interest rate, but you are expecting that interest rate will go up in the future. So you want to hedge this exposure, you want to change this exposure. And how you going to change it? If you want to get rid from the floating payment, you will exactly receive the same nature. Just to cancel out the floating rate payment, you will also receive the same nature. So you will go to the swap counterparty and you will tell them your problem, that you want to get rid from the floating rate payment. You want to change your exposure from the floating to the fixed. The swap counterparty will pay you the floating rate, and you will take that floating rate and will pay to your bank. So floating rate receipt will cancel out with the floating rate payment. And in exchange for that floating rate receipt, you will pay fixed rate payment to the counterparty, to the swap party. So what are the steps? First step, decide what you have borrowed from the bank. Okay, in this example, you have borrowed in the floating interest rate. And if you have borrowed in the floating interest rate, so you want to change your exposure from the floating to the from the floating to the fixed interest rate. How you can change your exposure from the floating to the fixed rate? You will go to the counterparty, and that counterparty will pay you floating. Just to cancel out the floating interest rate payment, you will receive the same nature from the bank, from the swap agent. So this floating rate receipt will cancel out this floating rate payment. So floating will be cancelled out, and you will only be paying fixed interest rate to the counterparty. So your final cost after swap will be fixed interest rate. The process in which you change your exposure from floating to fixed or fixed to floating is called plain vanilla interest rate swap. So that's how you're gonna shift your exposure from floating to fixed or fixed to floating. Okay, let's learn it in detail. Let's learn it with this example. Have a look on this example. Firm A is a credit rating of BBB and is about to arrange a loan of 10 million UK pound. It can obtain this loan at either a fixed rate of 9.25% or a floating rate of LIBOR plus 1.5%. Firm A has approached a swap dealer with the request to arrange an interest rate swap that could potentially lower its interest cost. Firm B, another client of the swap dealer, is about to raise the same amount priced at a floating rate of LIBOR 0.5 or fixed rate of 7.5. Firm B has a credit rating of AA and has made it clear that it would be willing to enter into a swap agreement if 2/3 of the potential swap benefits are passed on to it. And swap fee is 0.1. So how are you going to tackle this? Let's learn it. Okay, the first step will be write the name of two parties, Firm A and Firm B. Both can borrow at fixed rate and both can borrow at floating rate. Okay, fixed rate of A was 9.25 and LIBOR plus 1.5. 9.25 LIBOR plus 1.5. We can borrow at 7.5 and LIBOR plus 0.5. LIBOR plus 1. Yes. Now try to develop a swap contract. One contract will be like this. B company borrow at fixed. Sorry, A company borrow at fixed and B company at floating. It will have a total cost of LIBOR plus 9.75. Okay, another contract can be B company borrow at fixed and A company at floating. It will have a cost of LIBOR plus 9%. So definitely this is a cheaper structure. So first step is identify the cheaper structure and declare it, like A company will borrow at floating LIBOR plus 1.5 and B company will borrow at fixed 7.5% now. Okay, what is the benefit in it? The benefit is of 0.75%. This is saving. Okay, this is the first step. Second step will be distribute the savings. So firm A and firm B. And what was the distribution process? 2/3 saving will be go to B. 2/3 of 0.75 will be 0.5% and 1/3 will be 0.25. Third step will be calculate the net savings. And that will be deduct the swap fee agent from these savings. So deduct 0.1% from both of these values. So it will be 0.15% and 0.4%. Fourth step can be the final step in which you will calculate after swap cost for A and for B. Okay, A has already borrowed at floating rate. So if A has already borrowed at floating rate, that means after swap, A must have borrowed or A must have a final exposure in fixed rate, because if now A has borrowed at a floating rate, after swap A will borrow, A will have an answer in fixed rate. And if A company directly borrows, it will cost at this company at 9.25%. But obviously because of this swap concept, it will be 0.15% cheaper. So if it is 0.15% cheaper, so your final cost will be 9.1%. So what is the final step? Look back to the first step. What A company has done. A company has already borrowed at the floating rate. If a company has already borrowed at floating rate, that means final exposure will be at a fixed rate. So just identify the fixed cost of A, that is 9.25%, but this is not the cost now, because now this cost must be cheaper by 0.15%. So its final cost is 9.1%. What B company has done, B company has already borrowed a fixed rate. So B exposure will be at floating rate. And if B company directly borrow at floating rate, it must cost him LIBOR plus 0.5. But B company is arranging a swap, which is 0.4% cheaper. So its final cost will be LIBOR plus 0.1%. So these are the final after swap costs. You can close your contract by doing these steps because you have already calculated the final cost. So first step is write the name of both firm, put the fixed and floating interest rates, combine fix of one party with the floating of other, and combining the fix of other party with the floating of one, make the two arrangement, identify the cheaper one and make them borrow in that cheaper structure. Calculate the net of those structure, calculate saving, distribute the saving, and calculate the net saving. And in final step, do exactly the opposite what you have done in the first step. If the firm A has borrowed at the floating rate in first step, A company will have a final answer in fixed rate, but obviously it will be cheaper. It will be less than by the savings of the third step. So A final answer is 9.1%. That's how you're gonna solve the swap contract in exam. Okay, finally, you may have to draw the final swap structure. That is for A company, for B company. First step, borrow from bank. Okay, the final step is after swap cost. Okay, A company has already borrowed at LIBOR plus 1.5%. B company has already borrowed at 7.5%. And the final cost of A company is 9.1% and LIBOR plus 0.1%. We have performed this step in the previous slide. And the fee of swap agent was 0.1, which is included in this final cost. Before fee cost was, if this 0.1% is included in 9.1, before this it was 9% and it was only LIBOR. So now you have to fill the blanks, like what you're gonna receive or what you're gonna pay. You take any assumption, you will have to take one assumption, and then you will just have to fill the balancing figures. So I'm taking an assumption that the company which is paying the floating rate, it is an assumption. You can take even the other assumption. The company which is paying the floating rate will receive the exact floating rate from another party, from the counterparty. So A company will receive exactly the 1.5% from the other party. So that means the other company will have to pay the same to the A party, and the balancing figure is here 9%. So A will pay the 9% to the other party. Now both contracts are balanced. That is the final swap structure of both parties. That's how you're gonna tackle the interest rate swap question in exam. If you have any question, please write in the question section. There is a question in your handout named CMC. Its second part is from swap. Demonstrate how CMC company could benefit from the swap offered by bank. So just try to read the relevant figures from the question and try to solve it. Just read the question. We will solve this part in a few minutes. Okay, let's try to solve it. First step, we have a company CMC and counterparty. CMC company can borrow CMC company can borrow at annual rate of 2.2% or yield plus 0.4%. So CMC company can borrow 2.2% or yield plus 0.4%. This is fixed and this one is floating. Okay, the counterparty can borrow at 3.8% and yield plus 0.8%. Okay, make the two arrangement. First one will be yield plus 3% and the second one is yield plus 4.2%. Obviously, the cheaper one is this. CMC company can borrow, will borrow at fixed 2.2 and floating and counterparty will borrow at yield plus 0.8%. Okay, that's the second. Then calculate saving. That is 1.2%. Okay, now the next step is distribute the saving. CMC company and the counterparty. What is the arrangement? Both parties will get equal benefit and 20 basis point is a fee from each party. So CMC company will get 0.6, that is the second step. Third step, net savings. And in case of net saving, CMC company and counterparty will deduct 0.2% from both of these savings. So it will be 0.4%. And obviously it will be the same 0.4%. Now the fourth and final step after swap cost, that is, as go back to the first step, as CMC company already borrowed at fixed rate, so its final answer will be in floating. So the floating rate is yield plus 0.4, but its saving is 0.4, so its final cost will be only yield. Counterparty has already borrowed at floating rate, so that means its final answer will be at 3.8%. But it will be lower by its saving, that is 3.4%. These are the final cost But if you want to make the swap structure, it will be like this: CMC, counterparty, borrow from bank, after swap cost. CMC company has already borrowed at 2.2% and its final answer is yield. This company has already borrowed at yield plus, I think, 0.8% and its final cost is 3.4%. Let's confirm it. Final costs are exactly the same. Yes, these are the same. Now, both of these companies have paid fee of 0.2%. This fee is included in the final cost. So, before fee, if 0.2% is included in Y, so before fee, it will be yield minus 0.2 and it was 3.2%. Now we just have to fill these 4 blanks. And remember, just take one assumption, the rest of the blanks will automatically be filled out. How are you gonna solve it? Just take one assumption, and that is the party which is paying floating interest rate are you guys listening? Are you guys clearly receiving my sound? Okay. Okay, just take assumption, which is very simple. The party which is paying floating interest rate to its bank, the party which is paying floating interest rate to its bank, obviously this one, the party which is paying floating interest rates to its bank, that party will receive the exact floating rate from the other party. So we will assume that this party will receive the exactly same interest rate So if this company is receiving this floating rate, definitely the other party is. So now you just have to balance, and that is 3.2% here. And definitely if this company is paying 3.2%, the other will also receiving the 3.2%. That's how you're gonna fill these boxes. So this step will be, this is the first step in the previous steps. This was the fourth step, and fee, obviously fee will be given in exam and you just have to work back to get this. Okay, the technical thing is only these 4 and these are not that technical. It looks like technical. How you gonna fill these boxes? The company which is paying floating to its bank, the company which is paying floating to its bank will receive the same floating from the other party. So if counterparty is paying yield plus 0.8% to its bank, will receive the yield plus 0.8% from the other party. So if this company is receiving yield plus 0.8%, obviously this will pay this company must have paid that. Okay, if you have received, if let's suppose, if you have taken assumption that the counterparty which is paying floating to its bank will receive the same floating, definitely this floating rate has paid by CMC company. So how you gonna fill this? It's just a balancing figure. Okay, to get this, you must have paid 3.2%, and this 2.2% have paid to CMC, and CMC company have received this. So how you gonna? That's how you're gonna fill this. And this was the question from past paper exam CMC, where examiner has asked to demonstrate how CMC company could benefit from the swap offered by bank. So if you have any question from the CMC swap question, please write in the question box. Okay, we have not discussed the currency swap, but for currency swap, the process is exactly same. Exactly, the steps are same. Just go to ACCA website. There is a technical article on currency swaps. You will be amazed that currency swaps has the same steps what we have studied in the previous two questions and in previous slides. The currency swaps has same steps, the steps of interest rate swap. So you will not face any problem in reading that article. And in tomorrow session, we will discuss mock exam, which have already emailed to you people, and it will be on tomorrow 10 o'clock. It will be 10 o'clock PST, Pakistan Standard Time. Obviously, if you face any problem, just email me. And that's all from today's session. We will have a meeting on tomorrow's session on your mock exam. Thank you so much.